I've never done one of these in the rain.
No, I haven't
Yeah.
This
either.
is awesome.
It's kind of special, right? Doing it like this.
Yeah,
Most
it's-
people
it
try to
feels
iron
right.
this stuff out. I'm
Hey, we
like,
got to
this is good.
celebrate this.
Yeah.
This is a gift.
It's not lost on me that we're on a bit of a crazy horse tear right now, and we're back to back within a year. We're here. We were here a year ago.
That's right. What can I say?
I can say thank you.
Oh, that's what I say. Thank you. Oh, I say it every day.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you for a lifetime of incredible songs that have traveled with millions of us throughout our lives, the ups and the downs, from country to country. For me, from Auckland, New Zealand to Shangri La Studios in Malibu, California. Thank you, Neil, and thank you, Rick Rubin.
This is awesome. I just want to take a second to, and I always do, to acknowledge our surroundings whenever I'm here. How it makes me feel driving here. How I just, I lighten up. I smile. I choose my music before I arrive as I'm driving in. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so I have a memory of it. I listen to Chevrolet
Oh, good.
driving in here, which is one of my favorites
you.
on the record. So thanks, Rick, for letting us come and sit in your beautiful yard on a lovely rainy day. It's great to see you again, Neil.
Great to be here.
When was the last time, if ever, we've done an interview in the rain? Is it? I'm trying to think.
It's hard to get a rainy day anyway.
That's the subject on the album.
Part of it, yeah.
Yeah. It's all part of this beautiful and emotional and sometimes angry and often for me sad new album, but these are all really valid emotions and I want to talk about those. But first of all, archives. I always want to acknowledge what you're doing there and congratulations. I'm a subscriber and a
good.
patron
Oh, thank you,
of the Neil
man.
Young Archives.
That's cool.
And I was really happy to see that you're now also financially.
Yeah, we
Stable.
broke even like a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we're not now, though. We peaked. We came above them and then we went down again.
You
But we
increased your
hit
spend?
it. We hit it.
You
know,
broke
so-
even and increased your spend.
Yeah, for the, I don't know how many years it's been, but we finally got to the point where the new ideas and things we were developing
Yeah.
they didn't outspend, the income.
Yeah, but you were doing it anyway, and I realize now, being a part of it, what it means to me is probably why you did it, which was the connection, feeling like you can make a meaningful connection without it being interrupted or changed or morphed,
Yeah.
and also the connection that you get in return, because it feels accessible to me, very accessible.
It's all there. Everything that I ever did, that I wanted people to hear is there. And, and there's more things, but I haven't found them yet and I haven't, been able to prepare them. But they're all there, and I love the archives. For me, it's like been my friend for years now.
Yeah.
Place where I can go and take care of my stuff and organize everything and make sure it's I got really good archivists and engineers and record keepers.
And like you said, in a way, it's actually helping you rediscover and find things for the first time that are sitting somewhere, and we all have those tucked
Yeah.
away in drawers, places, and things like that. I saw recently that somebody at a record store, I think, in a small town, found a 1973 concert. You know about this? Obviously, you know about this.
Yes, we
Yeah.
have it already.
Yeah.
We got it from them.
Yeah.
And we're copying it and doing a plangent copy,
Amazing.
which will take the wow and flutter out of a cassette. It's apparently a cassette of a cassette. So, but there just were no recordings of those shows.
Yeah.
And we had one at the Roxy, but no other ones on the whole tour that I can remember. Or maybe there's two. But we did about 8 or 9 shows, and every time we get one, this is one we've never heard. So it's going to be a rescue job to make it sound okay. But it's all for fun.
It's
anyway.
all fun, right? And at the
Yeah.
end of the day, that whatever's left over in terms of the quality of that from the recording of it is honest. Rick, I don't know if I've ever asked you about archives, the idea of how this place extends into archival work and what you hold on to, what you feel you can hold on to from sessions and albums, and how it all sort of, how you relate to that really important storage side of things. Like, how do you approach that here at Shangri La?
Not well. I've never taken it seriously, and at some point it'll be an issue. If we ever decide to look back, it's going to be a challenge.
Is it stored in analog and on tapes as well as in digital, or is it kind of all just sitting
It's
in
hard
digital
to say.
files?
So much of the things, because I work with so many different artists,
Yeah.
most of whom are signed to labels, it's all over. It's in the different archives of the different record companies all over the place. So it's
Yeah.
hard to know. But we would record when we were recording mostly on tape, which we did on this album as well. But in the old days of recording on tape, sometimes we would use 150 reels of 2-inch tape for one album if we were doing a lot of takes. And those still exist somewhere
Yeah.
with all of those takes. And I've never looked back at them, but I know that they exist. I can't imagine someone would have erased them at a record company for,
Yeah.
but you never know.
It was lovely to know that you'd recorded this on 2-inch tape. I've actually worked on an album personally myself, and we made it digitally because we needed the access and the immediacy of using computers and stuff. But we transferred everything to tape and we mixed on tape. I don't know. It felt like it made a difference to me. I could hear it even though it was done digitally. It just brought things alive in a different way. So I'm a fan of that process. But you've never been someone I've always felt has kind of been attached to an old way of doing things. Like you're always looking forward, always looking for new ways to try to bring things to life. So why do this one on tape?
Well, this one is a hybrid. This was done to tape and immediately to digital, like off the playback
Highest
head.
res.
Right.
So it was only on tape for a split second, and then it was digital. But we
Right.
still have the original tape.
Yeah.
So then after that, we're working with the digital copy of it. So you've already taken that dark step,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and you're now in the realm
Yeah.
where nothing is the real.
But it was real for a split second.
It was before you got here.
Yeah.
And that's where we made the record. And then we went back to the place, and whatever we used that was acoustic, getting back to the place through the board, if there was ever any acoustic echo or anything that got used or anything that was added from the board, the sound of the board, all of that all went to analog. But our original tones came from an analog tone to a digital tone, where we worked with the digital tone, blended it to an analog.
By design, because you wanted the digital influence as well as
We
the analog.
want the digital control.
Yeah.
And we mixed to analog again after it went into the digital realm.
Yep.
We mixed to analog tape.
Yes.
So it's interesting you talk about digital control because that makes total sense. But both of you have come from a time when like you know what you're doing with tape. Like you and Crazy Horse know what you're doing. You've prepared these songs. You've come together. You're trying to capture a moment. Mm-hmm. So in a way, you've relinquished control by that point. In my head, as a fan, and then you grew up editing tape. I mean, you made the Beastie Boys records and these LL Cool J records and stuff, like cutting tape. That's how you looped. So I guess my question is like, what was the benefits of digital control?
There's a lot you can do with digital that's really convenient that you can't do with analog. Or if I don't want to say you can't do it with analog, but if you did it with analog, the downside of you wouldn't get the same benefit that you get if you do it digitally, because you have to make copies, and they're going down generations. Whereas if you can get into the digital realm immediately from the analog highest quality, if you're playing in that world, it's not degrading. It's not getting... There were even times in the past where you'd put up a 2-inch tape, where we'd put up a 2-inch tape, something we were working on in the past, and you listen to it, and it didn't sound like it did when you recorded it, because it starts degrading.
Things happen.
It can happen fast. It can happen if you mixed it a year later, it wouldn't sound anything like the
That's
original
why you
track.
got the rough mix is the
I didn't
good
even
mix.
know
That's why
that.
you got to do a mix the night of. You
It's
gotta do
always
a
changing. I
didn't
multi-track,
realize
and
that
you get it
happened.
on multi-track, and
It's
then you
alive.
mix it.
Wow.
It's
You
all
mix it
alive.
right there. Then you got that. That's
Yeah.
what you got, and you got to
Yeah.
figure out how do I preserve it,
Exactly.
and that's it. But
Yeah.
if you get it,
Yeah.
then the analog doesn't. The big master doesn't have a chance to start to disintegrate.
It can go and live its life.
You want to get it all at once.
Yeah.
Everything. You get the faster, the better.
Yeah,
It's like
it's
sampling
always changing. It really is
Yeah,
always
yeah.
It's unbelievable.
But it's like the early
it's
days of
always-
sampling. Must have felt like the early days of sampling. It's like, but like in real time, like take this beautiful original analog recording and then just quickly, like just get it in there and it starts to manipulate it and do what we need to do with it.
Well, you already taken the step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Once you've taken this
step.
step, it doesn't matter what you do. Like Rick says, we preserve it all at that level. But you already stepped down into it.
Yeah.
So preserving it all at that level is not the same as preserving all you had before you went to that level. That's different.
Yeah.
And if there's many ways to try to do that. using parts of digital things that you made and cutting them back in to the analog and putting them back in different ways. But it's so complicated to do that. We don't do that. It's not part of the music. So we get, we're music freaks. We love to be in the vibe of the song. That's where we
it's
live.
not actually a natural habitat. The digital landscape is not a natural habitat for the sound of this record, because there's so much in there that just feels like leave it alone.
Yeah,
we
but
were-
this
we
was digital when we were messing with it, right? It's all digital.
It was, but I
Yeah.
remember when we originally started tracking, we recorded both analog and digital simultaneously.
Yeah.
And they sounded completely different, and the analog sounded much better.
Yeah.
And then when you compared the digital version of the analog to the digital only version, the analog first digital version sounded much better. So it's, and I imagine there's some music you could probably record, maybe symphonic music where it's really quiet, where maybe the digital version sounds better because there's no noise at all. And so I could imagine in a dynamic situation where you're only recording very quiet things, there could be an argument for digital because it does some things well.
When you go over the analog head recording something analog and then you capture it right away is not the same as going over the analog head, capturing it, and then going back and playing it again to
It's
listen
true.
to it.
Yeah.
Because
It
this
changes.
is the second time
You've
it's being
lost that
played.
immediate-
That's
It
not the
changes.
first time.
Yeah. So the decay has begun.
Yeah.
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 It's
And
a
it
race.
keeps changing.
It's a race. You got to be watching, but at the same time, you couldn't give a shit because you're more interested in the song.
This is another beautiful album full of really amazing Neil Young and Crazy Horse songs. First time we spoke here, and you'll laugh at this because you've been down this road with me before. I get so obsessed with the process, and you would let me down very easy. You can almost cut this bit of the interviewing because we left it in where you were like, I get it. You want to know how I do it, but I could give you a different version of the same 4 answers I just gave you. But the bottom line is, man, like we should just dance around something else right now because it just is what it is, And you described it as a strangeness, and I love that you did that. And so I'm going to have one more crack at it because I think I've found a way in.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe what the strangeness felt like this time? What it felt like when you realized this album was kind of presenting itself to you? Because that's the way you describe it, is it's just, here come these songs.
Yeah. Well, that was, I guess we were talking about Barn back then.
Yeah.
Well, that was cool. That was a really cool album. But it wasn't like this album, because this album came from a whole other place. It's not even, it's like zebras and horses. It's like they're not the same.
Yeah.
They seem to occupy the same space and do the same thing and sit in the same pen or whatever, but they're not. So I think this one is that this one had the flow in a way the other one had never heard of having the flow. It came from another place. So the writer of this is me one step removed. It must be like that, because I'm walking along in the forest whistling tunes that I've never whistled before for the first time and recording them at the same time. And then that's happened day after day, every day a new song, a new melody, no words, no instrument, just whistling a little, walking along. And I love to walk, so I get in this groove, I'm walking and I'm doing these melodies. And then, so I collected them all on my flip phone and put them on made little movies of me walking, playing them.
Is that what's in the video? Is that some of that footage in the video?
That's the one that I was working on it this morning.
And it's funny because I didn't realize at the time. I found out afterwards, and I would love to have talked to you about it then. But you walked, was it 3 miles to the barn on the last record? You would walk each day with the dogs.
Yeah, I was walking every day there, and in the wintertime after we made that record, I was still walking, and that's when I wrote all these songs.
Wow.
So, but I only wrote the melodies, and it was like I didn't even know I was just, how you could be walking along whistling, you're thinking about something else.
Yeah. You just had to be recording.
What is that you're whistling? Where did it come from? Did you make it up yourself? Is it a fun little happy song? Or is that something you heard on the television yesterday? Or is it something from your grandmother's record collection? Where is the melody coming from? So I don't know. So I realized they were a different melody every day. So every day I started recording them on my flip phone and make a little movie of it. as I'm walking along, with the dog. So it's how part of it's my thumb, and the other part of it is, like snowy stuff with feet on it, but you hear the whistling. So all these songs started like that. 8 out of 10 of them started with the melody with no instrument, no words, no instrument, no chord changes. That is significantly, completely in another zone, and not thought of or sitting down to feel anything. It's just walking. So then I started thinking maybe 4 or 5 months later, it might be nice to go to do some stuff. I'd written a couple of other songs, and one of them was Chevrolet. I just finished that, and I was back here, and I said, God, it'd be nice to get in the studio and do some stuff. And checked out, and the horse was ready to go. And so I called and I booked the studio, and I said, God, that was easy. Usually you can't get in this place. I mean, I'm going, I got it like it's because 3 days later.
It's because there's one single post-it note beside the bookings phone that Rick's had there for however long, 25 years. Is if Neil calls, the answer is yes.
Well, whatever it was, I was very, very lucky to get this place again.
Yeah.
So here I am. And then I said, well, I'm gonna call Rick now and see because I thought of Rick right away. I'm going, who's going to help me do this? And so I thought of Rick because he's here. It's his place.
It's his gaff.
Yeah. So there we did. So we've done things before, and but we've never completed a record before.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean anything, because the things we did we remember.
Yeah.
And we remember what they felt like. So that's our history. It's not about what records came out. So musically, we were very similar. So it just seemed like the right thing. So I told him the story of whistling and doing this stuff, and then writing the songs in like 2 days. All of the songs were finished in 2 days. There were no corrections.
From melody to
No corrections on the lyrics. Not a change other than spelling, which was terrible because I did it on the computer, which I never do.
Right.
And I never looked at the screen. I just kept thinking the words and typing. So it was a mess, but I could still figure out what it was. So I did 8 songs like that in 2 days.
Neil, I love this song, Live Earth. Yeah, Live Earth is great.
Yeah. Live Earth. I like it. Live, live life. Yeah. Shaboom.
Rick, when I called you actually a while ago, I texted you a while ago during quarantine. I was feeling uninspired, so often I turn to my mentor and say, what should I read? What should I read? What should I listen to? What are you doing? Help me out. And you sent me back a list of books, and one of them was Neil's book.
Nice.
You recommended Neil's book. And I thought of that on the way here. I sort of wondered, does that help? That you've read this story about this man's life before you get into a room and work with him? Does it apply?
I don't think so. It's because it's all just stories. It's a different thing.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's fun I like stories about people that I'm interested in. If someone makes something I like, I want to hear a story about them. Whether it's true or not doesn't even matter. It's like they're characters in some story, you know? If anyone's ever written anything about you, there's probably, 30 or 40% of it might be right, and 60 or 70% is made up.
Yeah.
And that's what everything is. It's all stories.
Yeah.
So I don't take any of the stories too seriously, but I like hearing them because I like stories.
That's what memories are, right? They're designed to deceive. And that can be cool. That can make for a great story.
It is what it is. It's how we survive.
Or not, as this record may imply. And that's a really fascinating part of this album. I talked about the emotions that I felt when I listened to it and still listen to it. I can't tell, and maybe it's not something that needs to be told, whether or not it's a timely reminder of what is around us and what is amazing and what we take for granted, or whether it's just kind of almost a document of what we are going to leave behind when we wipe ourselves out. And that's when I get sad, is I can't tell the two. Does that make sense?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, that information is living in there. And it's interesting because the points of view of all the different guys thinking about all this are all different because it's a different day. And the melody came from an unknown place with no chords or or instrument associated with it. So I had to go through that whole translation of that. And in doing that, I realized that, well, you can say about one guy, one song, and it says one thing, and another song says something else. Is that not, hypocritical, or how can you talk about driving an old car when you know the fossil fuels are, how can you do that? Somebody asked me that, and
I don't think they were listening to that song, though.
No.
That song is pretty clear about what
I
you're
know.
leaving behind
I'm
in that
usually
song.
surprised, though. You can tell that you can't hear the whole song the first time. So some people hear other things in it, and that's cool.
That song's also about 2 hours long. You have to keep it.
Yeah, that's right.
Hard
You
to
have a
keep
lifetime. You have a lifetime.
Yeah, it's a
in
long
there.
time.
It's
a
a
long time.
long road. It's a long trip.
There's a lot of really great sort of muscle car metaphors that have turned into sort of more of a kind of acknowledgement and acceptance that maybe we should have let go of those muscle car metaphors a while ago.
Yeah.
It's great for that. And I'm glad you talked about that song, because first of all, when we walked in before, I saw you for the first time, you were playing on piano,
Yeah.
which was beautiful until I ruined it.
Yeah.
But
That's okay.
yeah, well, people are going
It
to
had
sing
a
it back to
moment.
you at some point. I was
It
just
had a
warming you
moment.
up. But then it became a real Crazy Horse moment. Like I would consider to be the closest thing to like that timeless Crazy Horse.
Yeah.
Take something beautiful and destroy it.
Yeah. Right. Play it.
Yeah, play it. What was that day like, Rick? When you fired up and you heard that coming through?
Super exciting. Had no idea what to expect, because Neil does different things at different times. So
Yeah.
excited and curious. And then we sat in the living room here, and Neil played me the whistling versions, and then read to me the words. I don't think you sang me the words. I think you read to me the
I
words.
played you the whistling and read the words to you.
That's what I think you did.
Jeez.
So it was like the idea of, I still had no idea what the songs were like. I had an idea of a melody.
Yeah,
None of it sounded like Neil.
yeah.
Historically, it sounded foreign, but it sounded really good. And it was interesting because I haven't heard this before. That's interesting. And had no idea what it would be like when Crazy Horse played on it. And I remember I may have even said, it's like, you sure you want to do this with them? Because based on what we were listening to, it was not clear that this was going to play to Crazy Horse's strong suit.
I'm glad you said that, because it does. It pulls out sides of Crazy Horse we've heard before, but it does. You pushed each other on this record in really interesting and unique ways. And so to get back to Rick's observation, like, I guess I can ask the question, why did you decide to bring the horse with you on this one?
Because I think it just seemed to me the only group that could do this. I couldn't.
And they are. It turns out they're the only group who could do this.
Yeah. And we thought, when we recorded it, we were pretty sure during the first week that they might not have been right.
Right.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, it wasn't. We weren't getting anything.
Right,
And we
right.
were going, we have to go back and listen and see what we did, because we never got, we need to get to these. And every time we play them, it's like Ralph would say, we played this a couple of weeks ago, didn't we?
Right. Right.
And we
was
didn't think that so we had to go back and we listened to everything. And we found several songs that we did that we can't understand why we didn't use them right away. We can't understand what was wrong with them.
When it was happening, it seemed like we were not close to even getting started
Wow,
making
nothing.
a record.
Wow.
Most of what you hear on the record were things that at the time that they were recorded, we were like, boy, I hope someday they're going to learn the song.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But when you listen back to them, there's nothing wrong with them.
No, they're beautiful. And
Yeah.
in fact, all of those things that you were probably worried
It's
about.
so weird.
It
It was the
was
weirdest. It was the weirdest project.
But I was
ever.
reading a note from you on the archives, right? That this almost sounds identical to a decision you made back in 2001 when you chose not to release an album called Toast.
Right.
And I know there were other reasons for that, and that's seen the light of day. But you would refer to the recordings you did with Crazy Horse almost in the same way in that note. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. They sounded great.
Yeah, that's true. And that was a different time, and I had many reasons for not putting it out there, because the songs are so personal, and I was in a relationship, and it was just like, I'm not sure that's the right thing to do, or that I should even do that. But this is different, because the guy in one song is not the guy in the other song, and they're both very convinced about what the song is about, and they're singing it, and it's me, but I have to. They're separated because they came from different places, and I can't put my finger on what it was, and like we found with all these songs that we'd listen to them first time, we think, well, we'll go back and we'll fix that. Both of us, okay, we go second verse, we come back a week later to fix all of it, and we can't find anything wrong.
Yeah.
And we're looking at each other like, this is nuts. We know what we heard. We know we have a list of things to do.
It's not, though, because Beck said this to me once. He was like, time and the arts have a relationship that we will never truly understand, in the sense that music ultimately changes and lives a life and changes shape, even if you were just listening to it, not even what people tell you about it.
Yeah.
It will just alter and move and shift.
It altered. We saw it alter.
What are you telling me? There's a great unspoken humor going on here. What's going on?
No, it was because honestly, during the process, it made no sense. We were just laughing every day. It's like, what is happening? You listen to it one day, you know what's wrong. We're going to fix it tomorrow. You come in tomorrow, you listen. It's completely different.
Gremlins are at it, man. They're fixing it for you. They're figuring it all out, right? It's the tape. It's living and breathing.
When you see it, the film of making it, you still are going, is this the take? Is this what they're doing?
Yeah.
Are they? Because we have no interest in anything. Everybody's mindless, and but we're having a good time.
Yeah.
Everybody's grooving, and then it's over, and then that was the record. I mean, we just played the sound of the record, and you saw what we were doing to make that sound, and it's like when you see us, it's like it's not happening. It's funny.
Speaking of funny, there's a moment at the beginning of the Break the Chain video where there's a little bit of off-camera banter going on between you and a couple of people in the studio, and someone says, "What's the name of the record?" And you pause and you say, "World Record." And then there's this kind of pause, and then you all crack up laughing. So the first thing I thought about asking you when I knew you were going to come back here, and I saw the video a while back, was that was the first thing I thought, oh, I'm off to the races now. I know what the angle is. What's so funny about the album title? Like, why did it make you laugh? I mean, I get the double entendre, but like for you, what's so funny?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
it
just
seemed like a
funny.
normal cover, a normal title for this. And then I went, no one's used that title?
Right.
I mean, I'm sure somebody used that title,
Well,
but
actually,
I don't know.
Full disclosure, and I'll get killed if I don't mention this. I actually had a radio feature when I started at Apple on my radio show, which was one song a day, like your song of the day.
Yeah.
And because we were broadcasting around the world, I
So it
called
was your
it
world
a
record.
world record.
Fabulous.
sense.
Yeah.
That's good.
But they didn't laugh at you.
They didn't laugh. It wasn't a joke.
You didn't kill yourself laughing at it when you thought of it.
No, I
But we
took it
did.
way too seriously. That's what I did.
No, it's crazy.
But there is kind of some humor on the record. It sort of lulls you in. Like, I don't know, maybe this is the wrong thing to find funny. I found the album cover really funny.
I've not seen it.
We'll have to get you one.
What is it?
It's a picture of my dad,
Oh, nice.
and he's walking down the street, and he's
Nice.
looking very cool.
Nice.
He's got a
I remember
suit on.
you saying, "Oh,
Yeah,
it might
he
be a
got a great picture
I
of him.
remember you said I have a great picture of my
And
dad.
there's pictures
Might
of my
be
whole
good.
family. My mom and I looking at each other, having a big conversation.
Yeah.
Just eye to eye.
Yeah.
And then my brother with a golf club in the middle of a swing,
Great.
And my sister, she's just sitting there in the house. She's about 8 or 6 or something. And everybody has their birthdays. The birthdays, the numbers of the birthday are in the lower left in their relationship. And then, you can tell this, this is part of a document of some kind.
I
Yeah.
see.
And that's all it is.
So I shouldn't have found it funny.
No, it's hilarious. I think it is. I think it's good. I like the fact that my dad's on the cover.
Yeah, it's cool. And you're right. There's a real purpose there. But again, I don't know. I always look too deeply into artwork. That's a big
I don't even
thing
know
for
where
me.
that came from. This is the first album that I've done that I did it. I didn't use an art director. My art director, who I love so much, is no longer on the planet. And I thought, well, what the hell? This record, everything else has happened this way. Why don't we we'll use my family. I know some great photos of my family that I would like to put on this. So that's what we did, and we just approached it that way.
Love Earth, which is the way that the album starts, which is just a beautiful, really like lilting, comforting arrangement. It really is a very welcoming sound. But again, the subject is like, take a look around, stop fucking wasting your time looking at other shit. It's all right there in front of you. And I sort of wonder what that experience was like for you making that song, coming out of nowhere from the whistle to the completion of it, like how it sort of came to be.
Well, I can't remember much of it, but I think I wrote, I know I wrote all the words, that day when I sat down with the computer and did all of that and listened to the tapes. But there's parts of it that I may have been singing during the morning when I heard the melody for the first time. It's pretty well just a straight ahead. It's just the person who wrote that was like, it's me, but it's not. I can't really speak for that person. It's like you can't speak. I can't. The song says what that person's thinking. It's not so much that it's me that's thinking it, even though it is me. But that doesn't matter. What matters is all these different points of view. That's the way I see the record. And then it's like it's a record of all these different things coming together. And I hope it's a positive reflection. You can always see hope and positive memories of the beauty of the planet.
Yeah.
When you've seen the seasons change.
Well, that's the lyric though, Neil. That's the one that stopped me in my tracks immediately, which was, we can bring the seasons back. Now that is...
Hey, wait a minute. They are gone. You're right.
Yeah, because I suddenly realized, like, wow, okay, I never actually put it into the context of an existence without discernible and definable seasons.
That's where we're headed.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of work to do. I think it's a great situation for the world. It's probably the only time in the world that you could ever see where all the people of all the countries, all around the world, could all have the same idea.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, we got to do something because this is no good. We are all feeling it. And the Russians and the Chinese and the Americans and the Canadians and French people, the Italians, they're all feeling it. The Australians, the New Zealanders, they're all feeling the same thing.
Definitely.
So you just take that and just go, what if everybody focused on just loving Earth and, looking at life like a hippie for a minute?
Yeah.
And just doing that and just don't do anything to hurt what you love.
Rick, you're somebody who I feel it has been close to the earth for a long time. That you told me once to take my shoes off and stop wearing shoes outside. Now that kind of is a classic Rick Rubin memory for me, because it's like I did. I took my shoes off and I went for a walk outside without my shoes, and I couldn't remember the last time I'd done that. It was grass, by the way, so it wasn't like I was in New York or anything like that. But you hear an album like this come together, and I know that you strive to be as acutely connected to what's going on around you as possible outside of the thrash of things. Did this album make you feel optimistic or sad, or how did you feel when it was being recorded and you were listening to what was being written by these people, aka Neil in many forms?
I wasn't really listening to it in that way. I was listening to it more in a melodic. It gave me a feeling more than listening to the stories of the songs. Sometimes I would, because sometimes we would talk about it. If there was a question about something, it's like, what do you mean by this? I may have said that one or two times. But I'm not listening so much for the content, more for the way it makes me feel.
How did it make you feel?
I like the songs, and I like the contrast between like the beauty of something like Love Earth and the drama of some of the. There's what's the name of the third song? There's one that's like, it's really loud.
I Walk With You.
I Walk With You. It's a loud song, but it's not like a rocker. It's something else.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of song.
Yeah.
And that relationship between something really beautiful and something really heavy like that. And I really feel the words, but I feel it more from less what he's talking about and more the energy in the voice and how it makes me feel. It's not so. It's like the language is not what it's about for me.
It inspired me, and it inspired me to do even just a little bit more than I am doing. It is an album that it's less preachy as it is kind of. Again, it's inclusive. It's like, we need to figure this all out together. How do you from a purely practical level, if there is such a thing, how do you apply this discipline to your life? If you're writing about this and you care about the earth, and you clearly do, what are some of the things that you do that you think others can do that ultimately will help people take a little bit more responsibility when we're not at the behest of these governments and corporations and companies? Like what's on the personal to-do list?
Well, anything you can do. If you got enough money, you should be able to do a lot of stuff. You should be able to only eat food that is clean food that's not coming from factory farms. Factory farms were where we got climate change. So if you go right to the factory farm and then go back in time on the factory farm, that's the beginning.
Yeah.
That's it. That's when the earth started to go in the sky. That's when everything got screwed up and we started growing things for money instead of for health and for natural goodness. So that's what I think of. I think of those kind of things when that's where my mind first went when you asked me this.
What's R99 diesel?
R99 is a combination of animal, vegetable, and mostly animals and vegetable fats and waste.
Is it a viable alternative to fuel when it comes to touring?
It's absolutely viable for our tour. I looked into it for touring all of the vehicles and for powering all of the vehicles and for powering the shows, the lights, the sound, the venue, everything we could do with this renewable fuel. And we could take the generators with us, set them up, maybe have 2 sets of them and have them hop, skip over one another. But do that kind of a thing to have a tour that wouldn't have an impact, where we wouldn't be impacting. And then I came up against the food. So all the venues have got arrangements with different people, contracts, and that's all factory farm food that everybody eats when they come to see one of our shows.
Yeah.
That's exactly the opposite of what we believe in. That's the part I'm having trouble with, and I'm trying to figure it out.
There's the touring thing is such a shortcut for the decriers of climate change and the people who want to cry hypocrisy on artists who decide that they want to do something about it. And it drives me crazy because...
I don't even think about that, man.
Exactly.
Don't even think about that. It's a waste of our time.
It is.
Our time should be focused on moving forward into the direction of uniting and fixing the problem.
So with that in mind, using that as the incentive, is there a place for yourself, Coldplay, who I know care deeply about this and are searching for solutions, and a group of other artists to come together and create, I don't know, for lack of a better, call it world tour. Call it World Touring Party.
Love Earth Tour.
Yeah, or the Love Earth Touring Party. A collective of artists, just like you did in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and 2000s, to try to solve some of these issues and once again inspire from inside the community, the artistic community, because that's how so much change has come from there.
That is what should happen. It's what we've been working on making happen for maybe 7-8 months now.
Amazing.
With a group of people that I'm working with and sponsors and all kinds of people, and we put together a tour that fits with what we're describing.
Yeah.
If we take the farm-made, homegrown village and bring that to every city. So you're only eating local food or food that's grown in a clean way. You're not supporting pigs on top of each other in metal buildings with fans blowing and antibiotics being injected. Mm-hmm. That's not what we want. Because why? Because they all shit right there. And then we take all that shit and we put it in a lagoon. Okay, so they never leave the building, and all their shit goes in a lagoon that is like foul. And what used to happen is they used to walk around outside making holes in the ground with their feet and shitting on the ground and eating the grass and eating what was there. And then we're not doing any of those things, and that's what happened to the earth. Mm. The earth is now dying inside. It's inside. You don't see worms. You don't see the roots. You don't see all the things that used to be there 50, 60, 70 years ago. And the reason, that's a huge thing, and it's around the planet.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's what gets me when I think about factory farms and people coming to our shows. If they only knew where the food really came from, and they knew that it was so against nature. And being against nature is like being against Earth. So I say, love Earth, don't do that. So it's really a reach for a lot of people to think of that. But it's not even like, it's nothing that I'm telling them they should do. I'm saying I'm doing that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. A team that leads by example.
If we do that together with other people, and other people find it to be an attractive way to approach life in these days, suddenly there'll be a lot of people like this. And then things will start to change.
Yeah.
And people start going in the same direction and succeeding. There's more power in that than any of this. We're so terrified. Today, don't you think people, look at people, they're striking out at each other, worried about the other side. Everybody's worried about, is the other side going to win, or we're going to win? If they cheated, if we won, the whole thing. And I don't like all of that stuff. But that's all fear-based. It's all because we're scared shitless. Because at the bottom of everything, there's another thing going on saying, they say the world might not be the same. Like in 15 years, we might be really screwed.
Yeah, it's creating psychological trauma.
Right, and all we got to keep doing is what we're doing now.
Yeah.
We don't have to change anything. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're not going to do it. We have to undo it. So that's where I'm coming from. And that's where I think a lot of the people who wrote this album are coming from. And, every time I talk to them, that's what they say. I guess that rounds it up, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. One of those people at the beginning of the Break the Chain video, when asked, like, how are people going to feel about this album or something, and you went, fuck them. And for a second, I was like, is he talking about me? And then I suddenly realized,
somebody else said
yes,
that.
he's talking about me.
Yes.
And every other fan and anyone else who's ever going to listen to this record and have an opinion that's beyond the purpose.
Yeah. If it doesn't have it, I don't care. I figured that's why they like it. Because I don't care. It's what I have to do. I want to do this. That's why there's 51, 52 albums. Because I want to do this. And I can still feel it. So I'd be crazy to stop.
Oh, don't do that.
But, you never know. It could, that's what the world is like. Things happen.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. From an audiophile point of view, as a fan of music, as a fan of your music.
Shifting.
And the music, well, not really, actually. There's a connection here.
That's great.
The last time I saw you here before I got in my car and scooted off up the road, I got you to sign a copy of Everybody Knows, original Japanese pressing, secondhand. Pulls it out. He's like, oh, I'm going to sign this, so this isn't the real deal.
Yeah.
There's a photo of me standing over your shoulder while you're analyzing it. I'm shitting my pants. I'm like, if I've got a bootleg here, I'm in real trouble. That's the most priceless album I own, but I have a lot of vinyl, and I love vinyl. Yeah, great. But, that's also a heavy footprint on the planet as well.
Yeah.
But
that makes a point, okay? But look at the footprint.
Yeah.
It's a dainty little peck on the fucking earth,
right?
Okay, compared to what we're doing.
So the risk to reward.
It's not that all fossil fuel
I get it.
And everything is like we got to stop it completely. It's just we have to know what we're doing.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. And there's a lot of vinyl out there. Yeah, I guess we could melt it all down.
I'd rather
get some
not do
good
that.
gas going.
No. I don't want to do that.
Jesus Christ.
But
I say leave it in the package.
Yeah.
It's already happened. It's history.
Yeah.
It's history.
Yeah.
And we're making vinyl now. Why? Because it sounds great. And you can't hear it anywhere else except in my dreams of the new AM radio station with the analog transmitter.
You going to give me a call?
Yeah, hey, if you want to get involved in our radio station.
I'm telling you, that's what I do.
We might put an antenna up on the roof.
We're thinking.
Serious?
Yeah. It's a good idea.
An analog AM radio station broadcasting vinyl quality to the fucking world. All you need is the right kind of radio, okay?
Yeah.
You just get the radio, then you can have any music.
I love that you talked recently about the magic of that, about the quality of radio. Because it's funny, it has been edged out over time as being
Radio's
something
the future.
Right.
It really is.
So.
Well, when you look at what the comparison is, taking the dark step, into digital, broadcasting that way, put on that vinyl record.
Well, I'm there as well, and there are benefits to that as well.
No, of course, yes, but I'm saying that because we all live there.
Yeah.
It's not like I don't live there. I'm right here with you. I put out digital records all the time.
Yeah.
My record company, that was a funny thing that happened. They saw the movie and they said, World Record, the making of World Record is I don't think we can get past the quality. The quality of it is just not good. I mean, it's so pixelated. And it is. It really is.
Yeah.
And my answer is that's exactly what you guys are giving Spotify.
Yeah.
Only now you can see it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Just so you can see when things are pixelated and you go, wow, this is screwed up. That's what the MP3 is.
Nicely played, sir.
So it's a thing,
Yeah, nicely played. You also, you used to take those test pressings down to the DJs as well. I remember, and you told a story again on the archives about that, about getting songs played and knowing whether it was resonating and connecting. And
Yeah.
there's something special about that. There's something special about having a place that you can trust.
Well, doing interviews, you got to be surprised at what happens when you do interviews. You listen to the record.
Yeah.
You have some feelings about the record, and I can tell you've listened to it. One of the interviews I did in the very beginning, and it was a big interview. It's a big thing, and supposed to be, this is a good one to do. I'm getting started. I'm going to try it out. We'll see how it is.
Sure.
So the guy's talking to me about the music, and he starts off talking about Love Earth. And then he talks about Shaboom by the Crew Cuts, that the words are similar and the melody is the same, very similar. It's a chord pattern that all of those songs from the 50s, like 80% of them are the same chords.
Yeah.
So, and it's not the 12-bar blues, it's the other one. There was only two.
Yeah.
So it's so weird. It's just... I don't think the guy listened to the record at all. All he had was this one comment.
Right.
And then he didn't follow it up with, wow, I actually listened to it. And, it's got all these things about this and that. And everything made me think about this, about, Love Earth. And it sounds simple, but it's not as simple as it sounds, especially where we are now. There was nothing like that was said or conveyed or anything. And it was the only song that he mentioned. And then when I was looking back on the interview, and I'm thinking, I hope I never have another interview with that kind of thing, because I like talking to people who are into, I don't care about, the fact that I've been doing this for 55 years or whatever, and Rick has made hundreds of records, and I've made a lot of records, and here we are, and I care about what we just did.
Yeah.
And that's what I care about.
Well, the thing is that whoever's talking to you, whether it's their job or not, is entitled to an opinion and sometimes even entitled to just like gloss over shit. Like,
That's
whatever.
right. That's right.
just life, right?
Yep.
The issue, and you talk about this on the song, The Long,
Day Before,
Yeah.
the one
Long
about
Day
the
Before.
newscasts and all that shit.
What you're saying in some respects is you're addressing that, because it's not the opinion that ultimately is destructive. It's the fact that it suddenly goes everywhere.
Yeah. Yes.
And then people decide that that's really all they need
Yeah.
is just that opinion.
Yeah. It's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about this on the phone off the record, and I won't betray any trust there, but I know that you were in the throes of that conversation for a while there about what we do with opinion versus fact.
Yeah. Yeah. It scares the shit out of me. I don't like to go to social media. I don't like to get involved in that and the back and forth of one celebrity against another celebrity had to do with a certain kind of people. I mean, who cares? There's so many more important things than that to think about today if you really want to look at what's happening.
Yeah.
So, but again, even as I'm saying that, I can feel like, well, you've said that so many times already, and people know that, and but people don't really know it well enough to act on it. So I keep going back to the same old thing, and it's going to be the death of me pretty soon. I probably have to stop doing that.
Fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them if they can't take a joke.
You mixed the album for vinyl, which I love. You did a mix for vinyl, and there'll be another mix for digital. How was that, Rick? Can we talk a lot about that process and how you approach that differently to how you'd mix other records, just with the vinyl in mind?
We always try to make everything sound as good as it can, basically.
Sure.
And the only reason that there was a second one for digital was because we had more time.
Yeah.
And we didn't have as much time for the vinyl one, so we put all of our energy into making the vinyl one as good as we can. And then anything that we heard after that, we were still able to do for the digital, so we did.
Do you
Yeah.
collect records?
Not anymore. I still have all of my, when I was a DJ, I still have all of those somewhere, I think. But I don't, it's too depressing.
Why?
It's the rabbit hole of having to have the vinyl of the thing that I want to listen to. I like living with no stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have a lot of records. I just don't want to have them. I love the way they sound, and it depresses me when I listen to them, because when I listen to that record, I want to listen to all the records, but I don't have all the records. And it's a, and I live in different places in the world, and I don't want to have, duplicates of every record everywhere I go. It's too much. It's just too much. So I do high-res digital everywhere I go, and I have hi-fi systems with high-res digital, which is the best I can do, and still have everything, have the benefit of what's good about the digital is that it's all available. So I make that choice.
Yeah.
And sites that he listens to. He got sites that he listens to for certain kinds of music.
That's
He's
true.
Such a music junkie that he says, I want to listen to psychedelic music right now. So he'll listen to psychedelic music for 2 hours, and then trip around in psychedelic music, and then so instead of having a record collection, I think
I like hearing new things. That's another part of it, is I really like hearing things I don't know. And I like hearing things that I don't know that remind me of things that I already like, like from,
and they could be old things.
yeah,
that you've never
all the
heard.
time.
It's
all
weird.
the time.
I don't know why I fell into the collector trap, and it really happened in the last few years. And maybe it's been partly because of that, because I've spent my whole life chasing new all the time. That it had been 40 years since I'd actually looked at it
Yeah.
and held it
Right,
in
right,
my
right,
hands.
Right.
I used to really be into collecting things. I just felt like at some point, I think when I moved to Malibu, just the idea of not having stuff felt really good. And
Yeah,
then my
at
house
some
burned
point
down,
you
and,
let a
and all
lot
whatever
go,
stuff
yeah.
I did
You've done
collect.
that as well. You don't collect.
No, I'm a huge collector. Huge.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
collect
completely
information.
understand.
Yeah.
I was
collect
more, I was
musical
like that
information.
before, and then somehow it changed, and it feels really. I feel free. Like I feel like I put down the bags and I don't have to carry them anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, but let me ask you this then. I don't know. Let me try. Is there one record that's in a storage unit somewhere, just one, that means more than any other? Like what? Like one album or one song? I knew the answer.
You'd have to find it in the storage unit by accident,
Yeah.
and then see it and go, "Oh shit, I love that record."
Oh man.
You know,
You think you ever
that's
might
the
do
way to
that?
get back to it. It's got to be an accident. It's not like,
it's always an accident.
yeah,
I wonder if you'll ever do that. I wonder if you'll ever actually go, you know what? Maybe I'll just unlock everything now and take a look.
I can't imagine it.
you can't.
I can't imagine it.
I think you probably would do. You know what? I think we'll make another record.
Yeah.
Or do something musical.
Something
do something new that's
Yeah.
expressive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
It's so much fun to make new stuff. I don't feel like a
Yeah.
need to look back.
Is that partly why you agreed to, or you wanted to sell your songs, or let somebody else do it?
I want to
those?
sell my songs because I don't have to worry about a fucking thing now.
Yeah.
I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. I've got the end of my life to go out doing exactly what it is I want to do and not doing what I don't want to do, unless it hurts somebody that I love. Then I really have to think about it. But when it comes to expressing who you are and what you can do, if you're constricted by money and a lot of people are relying on you, it's you don't have to do that. If you spend 75 years getting to the spot, you don't have to pay for what you did. You just sell what you want, and you use the money to be able to go forward living life the way you want to live it, and to make the examples. And that's the way I feel about it.
You bought your freedom.
Yeah. I don't have to I don't have to go on a tour if I don't want to go on a tour. So it's not like, oh my God, what am I going to do? We can't get it together to have a clean tour. It's like, well, can't get a clean tour. You can tell the
well.
people in Cincinnati,
Yeah.
sorry, we can't do that because, and Cincinnati's not a real town. I just pulled that out of the map. Say Roanoke. any city.
Wait,
Doesn't
Cincinnati's
matter.
a real town, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but I don't want to be giving it a stigma by mentioning it.
Okay.
That's the problem with making quick examples while you're talking on the radio. Then it's, that's not what I want to do.
All right. Well, the good folks of Cincinnati are off the hook. That makes total sense. But then you hear somebody use your song in a different way. Do you still have control over that? Or you just let go of the whole thing?
No, you don't have control over somebody doing something with a song unless they're doing a commercial.
So how do you feel when you hear your songs in the context of a different context now? You okay with that?
No. No. I don't like that. I like the songs to be the songs. I don't want the songs to become associated with a product or with a movement or with a politician or with a sport or with anything.
Which it just was.
Yeah.
One song was.
Yeah, that's right.
Big song.
You'll have to ask Frank about that one.
It's such a trade, At the end of the day, it totally makes sense. Like, why would I need to hold on to these things when I can actually free myself to go and
Right.
live my life? Actually, live my life. What are they going to be worth to me when I'm gone?
Yeah, and just to be clear, the fact that I sold my publishing had nothing to do with anything that's being used now in a commercial way. That was an accident that happened through a bad decision
Right.
that someone in the business world made on my behalf. So these things happen and life goes on.
But it's an example, a singular example.
It's a singular example. You won't see it again. And it
There you
has
go.
nothing to do with my publishing company, who I chose because they would take care of my art. And I didn't try to milk them to death because I put so many restrictions on them that they couldn't do this or couldn't do that. They just sell it like music, not to sell, a politician. I don't want my music to be associated with liberal or whatever the other word is, right, left, got all these slang words for 'em. Any of these people and any side. I don't want that. The music is for everyone. It's for people.
You've worked with people before closely, Neil, but I wouldn't say you're a promiscuous collaborator.
I've taken advantage
of a lot of people.
I would say you've been very loyal to the people that you trust and vice versa. But I always feel like your fingerprints are all over every record in a major, major way, beyond even just the song. That's just the feeling I've always gotten from listening to your music.
Well, I love to make records, so
Exactly.
I'm involved in almost every stage of it.
So working with Rick, what did you learn, or what was unique about this experience? Because everybody's different. Every experience is
It was the
different.
closest I've been to working with David Briggs, who was my first producer.
Yeah.
And Rick loves music. I love music. Rick loves music. Rick knows how to make records. I know how to make records. We have fun hanging out together. What's the problem? It's what we do.
It is fun to do it with someone you like
Yeah.
instead of yourself.
Yeah.
And someone to say, hey, what do you think of this? Which one do you like?
Yeah.
I like this one. What do you think? It's nice to have someone to bounce off. Also, I imagine if you wrote the songs, having someone who didn't write the songs is helpful to just bounce off of, because all the other people listening to it didn't write the songs.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's more of a real world
Especially
reference.
when there's multiple yous writing the songs. And how do you even make a decision about...
Well, you have to get them all together in one room. That's a problem, though.
That's a fucking
They don't
serious
like each
time we
other.
do
They
that,
don't
it
always
doesn't
like
always
each other.
work.
problem.
No.
Doesn't work.
Let's lock the door and
Doesn't
give
always
you
work.
an hour moment. If
You can never get them all together in one place.
It's like cats.
So, will you tour this if you can?
If I can.
Just got a few things to figure out.
A lot of things to figure out.
I'm excited to hear what it sounds like live, because
Totally.
I have no idea what it's going to sound like.
Well,
Even though it was
you kind of do, though, right?
well, it was recorded live, but it was such a strange. The way it happened is so weird that I don't know that it's.
If you listen to it
I
and
don't
then
know if
watch
you
the
can
movie of it
recreate
happening,
it.
it's like, what?
What you're saying is that basically what you captured in the moment and then you came back to, it's like it had changed shape behind
Yes.
your back.
Yes.
It never was what we thought it was.
No. And it keeps changing still.
Yeah.
I still, last time I listened to it, it sounded different than the last
Yeah,
than the time
yeah.
before. It has this life to it.
Yeah,
And the
it
only thing I
does.
can get to that, to try to understand that, or at least try to figure out what might be at play here, is that beyond the magic and the strangeness, is that when you go into something without the idea of it, without an overly analytical approach and the desire for perfection, you give so many different variables of solutions at any given time. Even though it exists in one singular motion, it's totally wide open to change in front of you because you haven't refined it to a point where there's no space for change.
It's been a long time since we've done anything like that, right?
No, it's true. It's true. And I feel like
awesome. I hear it too.
Also, Neil didn't really know the songs in the studio.
I had to learn them.
It was-
I didn't know what instrument they were on.
No, it's like it really was when the recordings that you hear
Yeah.
might be the first time Neil ever heard it when it was happening. Seriously.
Yeah. And I even say that at
Seriously.
the end of one song. I
Yeah.
said it to the horse. I said, congratulations. We fucking made it through it. It's amazing. We got all the way through it.
Yeah.
You know, because I had never heard it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so
So,
crazy.
you know, it was nuts. So
So it
it's
isn't
just
about a body
the way it
experience. It's the closest thing you probably get to actually being a fan of yourself or not.
works. Well, you're in the room anyway.
Right. Physically.
It was fun and surprising on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I hope people get out of it what we got out of it. If they did, it's a home run.
Before we go, there's a big anniversary coming up. You're not one to look back. We've established that in the few times we've spoken. I respect it. But Harvest is about to have a pretty big birthday.
Well, you know, in retrospect, which I'd have to say,
Yeah.
Harvest's birthday was last year.
Right.
Was it?
Yeah.
So how does that
So
work?
it's all old news now.
Right. So we don't have to talk about
That
it.
happened last
We
year.
don't have to talk about it. I'm really tempted to leave it there, but I sort of feel like somebody will be pissed if I don't push it.
No, they will be.
Harvest is a good one.
Yeah, it is.
It
Harvest
came
is a
out good. We made a movie about it.
Yeah.
We have a whole movie of making Harvest that no one's seen.
So, okay.
Will people ever see it?
Yeah, it's gonna it's
Yeah.
gonna be in theaters
Amazing.
for one night only. Of course, you know,
Yeah.
people blink, it's over. But that's good.
yeah.
That's the way it should be, and then it becomes available in all of the regular formats.
That was epic. I'll wear it.
It's great.
I'll wear it.
It's our world, man.
I'll wear it. I'm glad I have 1 foot in each. Yeah. You got to come looking for me. If you put an antenna on top of that roof, I'll come do I'll do an overnight shift.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Nice.
Do a late night show.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Let's do it.
It'd be good. We're partly serious.
Oh, I know you're always partly serious.
We're exploring this.
Why not?
I'm excited for the vinyl. I can't wait to see the etching.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that.
yeah,
And for the Harvest film.
yeah. The Harvest film and that.
It's weird because you don't want to talk about it, and I know why you don't want to talk about it, but you don't mind going inside it, right? And
No, it's
bringing
great.
it to life.
You look at it, you'll see it. It's us 50 years ago making this record, and everybody's having a great time. I think we played 7 songs that are on the record. Not those versions, different versions.
It's cool that exists. I didn't know that film existed.
I've had it for a long time, and that's what the archives is all about. You just have to go back to the right year and then look, and there it is.
It's the beautiful thing about making great art, right? You're always 10, 20, 30 years away from some anniversary or
There's a
birthday or
release
another.
coming up somewhere for
Exactly.
something.
There's always something. You're just living life in a loop, Neil.
It keeps me
It
busy.
just keeps you going.
Yeah.
If we can just find a way to extend our lives by another 100 years and the planet by another 1,000, then we might just be able to keep reliving our lives over and over and over and over again.
That's a good thought. Let's hold on to the thought of keeping the planet alive for our children.
Wow.
Nice.
Let me know how I can help, man.
All right, I will.
Appreciate you. Thanks for sticking around for this.
Thanks for having
Thanks.
us.